1800 hours, Pakistan Standard Time. Assalamu alaikum. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Aisha Nayab. First, the headlines. In a virtual summit with Uzbek President today, the Prime Minister underlined the need for strengthening trade and economic cooperation between Pakistan and Uzbekistan. Prime Minister addressing the foundation stone-laying ceremony of a housing project in Sargodha today said promotion of housing sector will not only ensure economic activity but also generate employment for youth. Interior Minister says the government has decided to ban Tehreek-e-Labbaik and Pakistan under Terrorism Act. In a telephonic conversation with U.S. Secretary of State today, the Army Chief reiterated that Pakistan will always support Afghan-led and Afghan-owned peace process based on mutual consensus of all stakeholders. The United States has announced to work closely with allies for a safe and coordinated withdrawal of forces from Afghanistan. In India, Congress leader Saifuddin Sood says the abrogation of Article 370 is unconstitutional and Kashmiris have every right to raise their voice against it. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Imran Khan has underlined the need for strengthening trade and economic cooperation between Pakistan and Uzbekistan. He made these remarks during a virtual summit today with Uzbekistan's President Shavkat Mirziyoyev. Imran Khan stressed for early finalization of the preferential trade agreement and transit trade agreement between the two countries. The Prime Minister also underlined the importance of enhancing political and diplomatic linkages as well as security and defense cooperation between Pakistan and Uzbekistan. The level of progress on the Trans-Afghan Railway Line project agreed between Pakistan, Uzbekistan and Afghanistan earlier this year was reviewed during the summit. The project would be a first step in linking the Central Asian transport network with Pakistani seaport of Gwadar, Karachi and Qasim. President Mirziyoyev reiterated his invitation to Prime Minister Imran Khan to attend the high-level international conference on regional connectivity to be held in Tashkent in July 2021. A joint declaration was adopted at the conclusion of the summit. The two countries also signed an agreement and two memorandum of understandings on the occasion of the virtual summit. Prime Minister Imran Khan says the government's special focus on housing and construction sector will strengthen national economy and generate employment for youth. Addressing the foundation-laying ceremony of affordable housing project under the Naya Pakistan housing program in Sargodha today, he said promotion of housing sector will not only ensure economic activity but also help the common man realize his dream of an own house. The Prime Minister said 31 sites has been selected in pre-urban areas in Punjab for low-cost housing projects to provide affordable houses to the low-income class on installments. Under the project, a total of 1,175 houses measuring 3 marlas each will be constructed at 6 places in Sargodha district. Imran Khan said for the first time in country's history, a mortgage house finance has been launched at such a big scale but at lowest markup rate. He said the housing project will bolster national economy through economic growth in construction sector as 30 industries are linked to construction sector. Interior Minister Sheikh Rashid Ahmed says the government has decided to ban Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan and a summary of imposition of ban on the outfit had been forwarded to the Federal Cabinet. Talking to media persons in Islamabad this afternoon, he said the Punjab government has pleaded for the ban on TLP as its workers were involved in violent protest and rampage. He said the ban has been placed under the Terrorism Act 1997. The minister said 2 police personnel were martyred and 340 government stability in installations by the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says it is time to bring our forces home as we have achieved the set goals. He was speaking at a joint press conference with NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg in Brussels today. He said we will work closely with our allies in the weeks and months ahead for a safe and coordinated withdrawal of our forces from Afghanistan. This is Radio Pakistan. Pakistan Navy ship Nasr arrived at Karachi port after completing 3 months-long successful humanitarian assistance and disaster relief mission to African countries. During the deployment to African continent, PNS Nasr delivered 1,000 tons of rice as gift to Djibouti, Sudan, Benin, and Niger. The ship also undertook goodwill visit to Mombasa, Kenya. The Hadr mission was planned after Niger was hit by flash floods and drought in 2020, causing widespread devastation. The mission was planned in line with the Government of Pakistan's policy of Engage Africa to open new vistas of bilateral cooperation with African countries and further strengthen the bonds of friendship. Chairman Parliamentary Committee on Kashmir, Shahryar Khan Afridi, says India is implementing a vicious plan of systematic economic strangulation of Kashmiris in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Addressing the launching ceremony of a book on Kashmir at Kashmir Council today, he said silence of the world is a big question mark for the humanity, and the prosperous world should not compromise on humanity for the sake of commercial and market interests. He said India is committing genocide of Kashmiris while demographic terrorism and cultural terrorism is being employed as major tool of genocide in occupied territory. The book covers the Indian war crimes being committed in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, with a specific reference to demographic changes and invasion of Kashmir by Hindutva rule. A report released by Kashmir Media Service says India is hosting events like Raisina Dialogue to mislead the international community, as India's image has been internationally deteriorated because of Modi-led government's inhuman action in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The report maintained that the multilateral event in New Delhi, under the attractive banner of geopolitical and geoeconomics, is actually a guise by Indian government to divert world attention from its imperialistic designs. Refuting Indian claims that it pursues stability by holding such events, the report says New Delhi is engaged in bullying its neighbors as exposed by EU Disinfo Lab. In India, Congress leader and former Indian Minister Saifuddin Sood says the abrogation of Article 370 that gave special status to Jammu and Kashmir is wrong and unconstitutional, and Kashmiris has every right to raise their voice against it. He was reacting to a recent statement of Indian Vice President Vinay Naidu, in which he said Jammu and Kashmir is an integral part of India. In the third T20 match against Pakistan at Centurion, South Africa was 74 for no loss in 7 overs a short while ago. Earlier, Pakistan won the toss and chose to field first. And finally, the weather. Rain with wind and thunderstorm is expected in Punjab, Upper Sindh, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Balochistan, Gilgit-Baltistan and Kashmir during the next 24 hours. And that is the end of the news. For more news and analysis, log on to our website video.gov.pk and also watch live video streaming of our bulletin on the link facebook.com/Radio Pakistan.